All right, so I hope everyone's off to a great start into the new year, taking your first probably couple setups or trades. For all those that trade supply and demand and have been following the channel for some period of time, you should know by now that the number one thing you want to be able to do is understand and follow is market structure. Being able to identify if the market is making higher highs and higher lows so that you can look for opportunities to trade demand setups at, right? Or making lower lows and lower highs to the downside when the market starts breaking structure to look for a supply setup. So it's simplistic, but it can also be a bit tricky if you don't know what you're looking at, especially if you're like trading from a lower base chart and then not following suit with the higher base chart. I always talk about the higher base charts or higher time frames trump all charts, okay? So you don't want to be moving against the or in the direction of a moving train is what I'm trying to say. So if the market is bullish on a higher base chart, and I'm using like range charts, so I use my 120 range chart, and then I primarily look at or trade off of my 24 range chart. And there's a certain strategy in how I trade. So I'm looking for a zone within a zone. So it's a marking up a higher base zone, and then from a higher base chart, okay, and it could be, if you use like maybe a 60-minute chart or a 15-minute chart or whatever it may be, 30-minute chart, or if you trade volume or tick, whatever your higher base charts are, I'm identifying, for me, on range charts, a higher base, high probability zone setup. It could be demand or supply. If the market is bullish to the upside, then it pulls back to a demand zone on a high probability setup off of a higher base chart. I'll mark it off. And then I'll wait for a lower base setup, meaning a lower base entry point on my lower base chart. The strategy which I talk about, I cover in so many videos, all right? And you guys that have been following the channel know it. The purpose of me doing this is to constantly reinforce with effort the strategy. I know because people get caught up and they have to see things multiple times, all right? And that's good because it helps you understand. The more you see it, it starts to trigger and stick in your mind, all right? Now, if you're someone that's watching the channel and you have a great strategy and you're already profitable, continue doing so as long as you're consistent and you're profitable. For all those who are beginners and possibly looking for a new strategy to be able to trade, specifically supply or demand, or if you're just looking for a new strategy and you're ready to start to trade the future markets, whether it's the micros or the Emini futures all together, then watch the videos here on the channel and you can kind of understand and start to learn yourself the strategy. It's pretty simplistic. Again, all I'm doing is basically taking two charts. Chart confluence or confluence as a whole is very important because the more that you have confluence on your side, when the market aligns up at a key level or a setup point or an area, could be a demand zone, supply zone, whatever it is, then more likely the trade is going to work out in your favor, okay? That's why I stress the importance of marking up my higher base chart first, demand or supply zone, and then moving down to see if I can basically narrow in or find a better entry point, more precise, on the inside of that larger zone on its lower base chart. So all it is a zone within a zone, because that's going to give me more confluence. And then I start looking at things like the volume profile. Okay, are we above the VWAP or below the VWAP? Things like that. But all those don't come first, okay? Volume profile, volume is extremely important because we all should know that without volume, there's not going to be any momentum or push in the market. And volume is critical because we need or want to be able to see areas where traders have taken interest in trading, either central points where the market may be at a high volume area above, okay, or another high volume area below. So I use the volume profile, and so many people trade it, may use it a little bit differently. But typically the way I look at the volume profile and use it is that if I'm interested and engaged in taking a trade going long, I want to be looking for trades on the outer edge at a zone, okay, or a key level that I'm interested in. And if it's at the weaker portion, meaning at a lower portion when volume starts to thin out, then I'll look to use that as confluence, third, fourth confluence, to be able to get to the trade. The first and second means of confluence is marking up a higher base chart. Second one is looking forward to see if there's an entry in the inside that zone on a lower base chart. And then I start looking at some of the tertiary things like the volume profile and things of that nature. Okay, is it hitting off a round number or a half number? There's so many other areas of confluence that you can use when it comes to setups. Now, today I took just a couple trades. I was like two trades or so that I actually took. And, I saw the market was pushing higher. So if we look at structure, I'm noticing that the market broke above this area here, and we've been making higher highs and higher lows to the upside, breaking structure, right? So, and I talk about in videos, structure is important because you need to identify which way the market is moving. If it's constantly breaking structure to the upside, then you need to be looking for pullbacks to key areas to go long. If we start to get a reversal, and I don't trade patterns, but where you may have like a shoulder, like a left shoulder, a head, then a right shoulder, kind of a head and shoulder type pattern, and then the market starts breaking structure, then that's going to be a sign to where there's weakness at the top, and they want to start looking for lower areas. Probably to fill gaps in back to the downside, like right here. They maybe want to come down here and fill these gaps now. Not sure 100%. But what I saw today when the market got up into this area around 11 was there was weakness in the market. I'm typically like a trade between 7:30 and done by 10:30, somewhere in that time frame there. But today we didn't really get any great pullbacks to any key areas off the higher base chart. Yes, this was a pullback right here to, little swing, break structure to the upside, come back, little demand area right here. But I didn't catch that trade today, so I had to wait it through. What I started noticing where I had this red line up top and there was volume that was being built. This is where, buyers and sellers were kind of struggling. I noticed that they started kind of consolidating this area. Consolidation is really a pivotal point when it comes to trading. Especially if you start to see where the market's breaking structure to the upside constantly, and then you start to see where it consolidates, and it doesn't want to break through that prior or that most recent high it made. And all they do is start like making a high, come down, pull back, come back up, pull back, and they have a hard time pushing through. That's a sign that they are looking to move the market in the opposite direction. So as retail traders, we need to start identifying and understanding what's going on. A bit of consolidation in the area, or the market starts forming like a zipper, if you want to call it that, just kind of stacking up on the tops, or it could be the bottoms, But in this case here, they were already bullish to the upside. The market was bullish, and then it started to topple out here and started to show signs of weakness where it didn't want to push any higher. That's a sign that where the market's probably going to try to reverse it and start to pull lower to fill those gaps in back to the downside. So when I noticed that, what I did was I looked over my lower base chart to see if the market was started to kind of show signs of reversal on the lower base chart. So then I would be interested in taking a short opportunity. And that's what I did here. I'll show you it right quick because this was the trade that I took. The first entry I took off of the NASDAQ futures today. As you can see here, it was a short. This is on the Discord. I post my trades over in the Discord so the community members can, see the entry points. As well, for anyone who's interested in joining the Discord, the link is down in the description portion of the video. It is free to join, or if you want to become an elite channel supporter, to where you can gain access to the private video content as well. All that is where you get additional video content, but basically where I go into and break down trade setups, okay? So that yourself, you can take trades similar to just as well. But it helps because you'll grasp and start to understand. All right, I know how to identify a key area of demand or supply correctly in relation to what's going on with structure. Again, you don't want to be going against a moving train. So if we're looking for a nice setup and I want to go long, well, I must make sure that the higher base chart is showing me that the market is bullish and, be going along with it, okay, on a lower base chart. So I don't want to be trying to go short when the market is primarily bullish unless I start to see weakness on the higher base chart, and then I start to see structural shifts on the lower base chart to where I can grab a scalp. And that's what I did right here off this trade. So I'm going to show you right quick here on the chart, on the lower base chart, what I'm talking about right now. All right, so we will move down to my 24 range chart. Again, I talked about we started seeing signs where the market was showing weakness, possibly from the tops to want to go maybe kind of push lower, right? So I saw that. And the reason why I went short off of this trade right here was because on the lower base chart, I saw where, all right, this was a structural break to the upside, right? This was that area right here where I had the red line at, where they started to kind of show signs that maybe, they were having struggles to want to push higher. So they came down, made a lower high, and broke structure. So they broke structure here below, but they also broke below this area structure here. This is a pattern that most traders talk about, like a head and shoulder, left shoulder, head, and right shoulder breaking structure, okay? But what I'm looking for is to see, are we getting that pattern, that golden pattern that I always talk about, which is this type of setup right here, where it makes a high, higher low, breaking structure. There's pretty much what you consider the head, low, lower high, breaking structure here and breaking structure here, this is a sign of a reversal pattern, okay? Now, again, we want to be mindful of what's going on the higher base chart. It's bullish, so be careful when you start to try to trade against the overall grain. And I only did so because I saw weakness at this area right here where they were potentially looking like they were, showing weakness of trying to push higher. But anyways, I saw this setup here on the lower base chart. It dropped lower, broke structure below these areas right here, pull back. This is a high probability demand zone on the 24 range, which is my entry chart. I looked for an opportunity to get into the trade. I got in somewhere around here, and I was just aiming for the market to fill these gaps in. You see the gaps on the retracement back here? The gaps are on these candles right here, okay? Those are the areas that the market has to fill in. So I was just aiming for the market to come down and fill those areas in, back down to the gaps right here. Now, they could have taken out liquidity right here, but my first aim, people always talk about, Mike, what do you aim for as far as profit and looking once you have executed or gotten to your position? First, to see if there's any gaps below, and then aim for those gaps to be filled to the downside. That's how I was able to pick up those quick 15 points on the lower base chart, okay, strictly without having the, what I always love to look for, a zone within a zone. I took this trade because I saw weakness on the lower base chart, and then I started to see where they were breaking structure, kind of with setting themselves up for a slight trend reversal on the lower base chart. But again, the lower base chart is not going to be the end all as far as letting you know which way the market is really trying to move. It was still bullish, okay? So then, as you can see, it came down, bounced off this right here, this area here, demand right here, and pushed back up, took out that high originally. But still, they started facing the same thing. You can see they started right here, doing the same thing at the top here. Just a bit of consolidation right here, showing signs of weakness. As you can see right here around about 1140, 1145, when they finally came back and made this lower high right here, again, they're consolidating this area, building volume up, then they just started dropping to the downside. And from there, I started looking at my lower base chart. This was consolidation right here. And then again, I switched over to my lower base chart to see if they were starting to make that kind of pattern again to where they were breaking structure lower on a lower base chart. And eventually they followed suit and started breaking down. So this was the area right here on the higher base chart. They came down, they broke structure below this area here. You can see they took out multiple lows right here. Breaking structure here, breaking here, and breaking below these lows here, pulling back. I was interested in looking for a rejection off of this supply zone right here, but they broke right above it. They invalidated that zone. And then they eventually started coming back down even lower. So they broke this area structure on the move to the downside as well. They came back, all right. This is a low probability zone right here. So I didn't take a trade off of that, even though they rejected this area. But anyways, they came down, made a new low on the 24 range chart, okay? And you can see on the higher base chart, they were moving lower as well. Low, lower, high, and then boom, broke structure again, coming back to the downside. So when I saw that there was this area right here, I said, okay, that's a low probability zone too as well. I don't like to trade from low probability zones off of my lower base chart. I like to trade high probability zones only on a lower base chart. So they broke structure lower, pulled back, came down, slight break of structure right here below this area here at 21,833. But here was a high probability demand zone, supply zone off of the 24 range. But I had to be mindful because there was a gap right here where a supply zone rested above as well. So I just waited to see what was going to happen at this actual zone right here, the supply area. And when I got an aggressive, so the first break of the candle to the downside, when they came back to this area right here, as you can see, they came back, and I got in the trade right here at 21,841, and I was just aiming for them to come down and take out, liquidity below is what I was really aiming for. Again, you can look forward to fill gaps, but there was a small gap on this candle right here, so it may have not given you enough if you would have gotten to the trade maybe here at 841 and try to take out maybe 36, picked up, I don't know, 5 points there, whatever. But I was aiming for, the area of liquidity he resting here at the bottom, whatever the case is. But either way, my trades worked out for me today, and it's just all about looking and understanding what's going on the higher base chart and then following suit with your lower base chart, especially if you got a zone within a zone. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to try to get into one of those trades today where we're able to mark up a higher base zone and then mark up a lower base zone on the inside of that higher base zone off the 120. So 120 zone and then a 24 range zone. So if we had a nice demand zone was moving to the upside today, off the 120. Let's say, for example, there was a zone right here. This was a, pushing up, breaking structure, coming back. Small area right here. Well, I would have then, if I mark this off right here, okay, with a rectangle or a box right here, I would have moved down to my lower base 24 range chart to see if there was a 24 range demand zone resting on the inside of this 120 range zone. I talk about this over and over and over in tons of videos, so please spend some time to watching the video content. The concept is really it's pretty easy. It's a simplistic strategy, but the number one thing I'm going to stress right now, and I have been doing this at all times, is market structure and understanding and knowing. Trade in the direction of the higher base chart, okay? Overall, especially if you're a beginner trader, do not try to counter trend trade against the higher base chart. If the higher base chart is moving in a bullish direction, then look to take bullish trades or demand setups only on the lower base chart, okay? If the higher base chart is bearish to the downside, then look to take bearish type setups, supply setups, moving to the downside with the higher base chart. Hopefully that makes sense. You do not want to be moving against or going against a moving train, okay? You will face a head-on collision there. But again, the trade breakdowns, the video playlist, I did a great video covering market structure. To anyone that's interested in becoming an elite channel supporter and wants more video content to really break things down in reference to the trades themselves. So anyone that's interested in becoming an elite channel supporter to where you gain access to all the trade breakdown content. I'm talking about tons of videos where I talk about and go in detail about the setups that I take, walking you through the strategy really in detail so you understand where to place your stop loss, where to place your profit target. Just walking through these setups that I post over on the Discord so that it makes sense to you, so you can start to see things on your own when you're actually trading. But I stress market structure because it's extremely important. Understanding the movement in the market and knowing which way to trade, okay? That's where most people fail at, is not knowing the direction of which way to trade. So once you understand and have an idea of which way you need to be trading, okay, and you understand about Confluence, and you understand, the strategy as far as supply and demand and what to look for, breaking things down, then you will start to see similar setups and be able to take the same type setups. But the trade breakdown videos, which are part of the Elite Channel Supporter program, and anyone who's interested, is only $6.99, but you also get the video playlist like I mentioned earlier, and the great video that I covered on market structure for anyone struggling with that concept, okay? Again, I can't stress it enough. I break these trades down, the ones that I post over here on the Discord community. I break them down to those who they are the elite channel supporters, because you guys are supporting my efforts as a content creator, and I'm giving basically rewards or perks back through the YouTube tier membership program. And this is my way of really helping people out and not having to charge people an exceptional amount of money. I'm just really doing this for a very minimal fee of just trying to help people out that are interested in understanding the strategy. Now, again, not everybody may trade or understand, and it may take some people more time than others, regardless of the fact. But the key is being patient. If you're looking for consistency and you're looking to become profitable, you've got to be patient. You can't take every little setup, all right? That's probably one of the biggest hurdles that most traders need to get over, is sitting on your hands, waiting for the right setup, okay? You know when it's right, all right, if you understand the strategy, okay? If you're already consistently profitable, please just continue doing what you're doing, okay? Don't try to intermix things together because you may confuse yourself. But outside of that, that's all I have, guys. Discord is down below. The Elite Channel supporter link is down below for anyone who's interested in joining. But that's all I have. I appreciate everyone tuning in. If you're not a current subscriber, please take the time to go ahead and subscribe by clicking on that sub button. Make sure to turn your post notifications on so you don't miss any of the uploads here on the channel. And last but not least, if you found value in today's video content, I know a lot of you like these videos like this where I kind of go into detail, talk about what I was thinking, what I was looking at, talking about the structure or talking about the market today. I appreciate it because you guys actually have left me comments or continue leaving me comments letting me know you like this video content, so I'll continue doing things like this. But drop a like on the video if you found value in today's content. Appreciate it. Take care. See you in the next one.